A couple of weeks ago, we lost power at the campground on a Sunday evening. The whole campground lost power due to a tree that had fallen over the power line, so nobody expected the power to return anytime soon. I noticed that after about 20 minutes, the battery went from 12.6 volts, which is fully charged, to 12.3 volts, which is only about 50% charged. This alarmed me as the voltage should not have dropped that quickly, so I turned everything off on the DC system that was not essential, and I was concerned that we might not have enough DC power to retract the slides and the leveling system. I hooked the 7-pin wire harness from the RV to the truck and started the truck. In my vehicle, the alternator from the truck will charge the RV battery when the engine is running, so I was able to get the voltage back up to 12.6 volts or fully charged. At that point, we closed up the RV and left for home. The battery that we have in the RV is the original one, and we've had it for 5 years, and I did have a few problems with it last fall. My father, who was an auto mechanic for years, always told me a battery works right up to the point that it quits. I had intended to replace a battery this year, but I was researching the advantages of going with either an AGM or lithium battery, and I had not decided yet. I guess the RV decided for me. So with having to make a spot decision, I decided to stay with a flooded deep cycle battery. The old battery lasted 5 seasons, so it performed well enough. An AGM or lithium battery, of course, would offer a better performance, but I might only have this RV for a few more years. If the RV was new, then yes, I might have decided on a lithium battery, but considering the age of the RV, who knows when we will upgrade next. I found that the going rate for a Group 27 deep cycle battery is in the $120 to $140 range. But I did find one of the big box hardware stores that had marine deep cycle batteries for $90 with an 11% rebate, so $80 for a new battery was pretty cheap. Yeah, I know you get what you pay for, but sometimes you don't get what you pay for. There's no guarantee that you're going to get something better if you spend more money. The brand of the battery was FVP, which I actually never heard of. No real shocker, as in the US there are only about 4 battery manufacturers anyway, so most batteries are simply rebadged from one of those manufacturers. I was able to determine from the material safety data sheet for the FVP battery that it is actually a rebadged Atlas BX battery and is actually manufactured by Hankook, which is a Korean manufacturer. So much for my theory about the 4 American manufacturers. And I've heard of Hankook tires, and they seem to be favorably rated. I also found that they have an endorsed arrangement with the NHRA, the National Hot Rod Association. While that in itself is no guarantee of anything, I suppose it at least provides more evidence of their favorability. I also discovered this was a maintenance-free battery, not an AGM, but a sealed lead-acid battery, so I decided to take a chance and bought the battery. When disconnecting a battery, always remove the ground or negative side first. The reason for this is quite simple. If you disconnect the positive side first and you inadvertently touch the chassis ground with your wrench, you'll be shorting out the battery across the wrench. Not good. For the same reason, you should reattach the positive side first before the ground side when reinstalling the battery. I apparently neglected to hit the record button on the camera when I installed the battery, but you can see here that I've installed the battery in the RV. I did have a wiring system on the old battery, which I no longer need as the new battery is a sealed, maintenance-free battery. Part of the old watering system was an exit gland for the watering hose in the battery box cover. Since I no longer am going to use that hose, I want to seal that gland so that the battery does not vent into an internal compartment. There is already a vent going to the outside, and that is sufficient. I was able to find a rubber stopper that is used to block off holes in an item being powder coated, and I used the stopper to block the air vent. And this is the old battery. It is a Deca brand made by East Penn. After contacting FVP to obtain additional information about the battery, I was able to determine that the battery capacity for both the Deca and FVP battery was identical. I'll be doing an all about lead acid batteries video soon where I explain Percoot's law, amp hour versus time, reserve capacity, and other ratings commonly found on lead acid batteries.